Before the first frost settled over the fields, before the last wagon of harvest rolled in from the pasture, the farmers knew what had to be done. They had no freezers, no canning factories, no grocery stores waiting at the end of a paved road. What they had was the earth itself, ancient, patient, and extraordinarily capable. Descending into a root cellar in the dead of January, lantern swinging in hand, the smell hitting you first, damp soil, cool stone, the faint sweetness of stored apples, was to understand something profound, that survival has always been a conversation between human ingenuity and the natural world. Reading the earth like a map. The old-timers didn't choose their cellar sites randomly. They read the landscape the way a sailor reads the sky. A slight elevation meant drainage. A north-facing hillside meant natural shade that kept summer temperatures from spiking and compromising stores before winter even arrived. Digging down 6 to 10 feet meant piercing below the frost line, reaching that geological sweet spot where temperatures hold steady between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Cold enough to slow bacterial decay, warm enough to prevent the cellular rupture of freezing. Stone and brick walls weren't merely structural choices, they were thermal mass decisions. Those materials absorbed cool energy and released it slowly, buffering against sudden temperature swings the way a thick wool coat buffers against wind. The dirt floor was equally deliberate. It breathed wicked moisture upward and maintained the 85 to 95% humidity that kept root vegetables firm and viable for months rather than days. The chemistry of keeping things alive. What separates a skilled cellar keeper from a careless one isn't effort, it's understanding. Potatoes cured for 2 weeks in warm, dry air before storage develop a secondary skin over every harvest wound, a waxy biological sealant called suberin that locks out the rot organisms waiting to exploit any entry point. Onions hung until their necks turned papery and bone dry follow the same logic. Every moisture pathway closed is a winter's worth of food protected. Apples, stored carelessly alongside vegetables, could silently devastate an entire season's work. The ethylene gas they continuously emit accelerates ripening in everything nearby. Potatoes sprout, carrots go soft, turnips hollow. The farmers who built separate fruit cellars weren't being precious. They were practicing chemistry without ever having named it, guided entirely by hard observation and the memory of past losses. Resilience buried 6 feet down. What root cellars ultimately represent isn't just food storage. They represent a philosophy, one that says preparation is an act of respect toward the future, that the work done in September is what keeps your children fed in February. These weren't passive structures. They required monitoring, adjusting ventilation on cold nights, rotating stock, reading the early signs of spoilage before it spread. That knowledge lived in people's hands and noses and memories. And when it was lost, when cheap refrigeration made it seem unnecessary, something quietly disappeared from the culture of self-reliance that is genuinely difficult to recover. Carry it forward. The techniques in this episode aren't museum pieces, they are functional, immediately applicable, and in a world of increasing uncertainty around supply chains and energy infrastructure, more relevant than they have been in decades. Whether you're developing a homestead, building emergency preparedness depth, or simply trying to understand how human beings have always managed to endure, the root cellar is one of history's most elegant answers. If this episode lit something up for you, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share it with someone who values self-reliance, history, and the timeless art of knowing how to take care of yourself and the people around you. This knowledge kept communities alive. Pass it on. Pass it